Hey, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I think Tulsi Gabbard, I think she's out of the doghouse. You guys might remember that with the Iran or the strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, Tulsi Gabbard says some things that President Trump really wasn't happy with. Well, he's really happy with her now, especially since she's declassified the intel community's September 16th assessment that shows that Barack Obama is guilty as sin when it comes to the Russia-Collusion hoax. The question is, what will be done about it? Listen, I don't suspect that Barack Obama will be seeing any jail time, but I think this is important for his legacy. And I also think this is important for President Trump's legacy. That September 16th assessment let us know that there was no there when it came to the Russia-Collusion hoax. And then you have the FBI, the CIA, the NSA that colluded with President Obama to try to set up Trump and undermine his presidency. So I want to talk about this with our guest, Ed Morrissey of hotair.com. Ed, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, it's great to be on with you, Carl. Thanks for having me tonight.
Okay, absolutely. So listen, I mean, just give us your general take. I mean, this is huge in my opinion. I know there's some people out there, Ed, oh, this is old news. Why is Trump going back so far? But I got to tell you, Ed, I really believe this is so important because people want to see equal treatment under the law. People want to trust these institutions, these law enforcement agencies again. And I just think it goes to trusting our institutions again. I think it's important to cover this and get down to the bottom of this.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, this is the same people who are saying, oh, this is old news. It doesn't really matter. Were the people who wanted to prosecute Trump for a speech on January 6th. I mean, so I'm taking that with a humongous salt lick, not even a grain of salt, a salt lick on that score. Now, look, do I think that what we've seen so far is indictable? I'm not sure about that, but I'm not even necessarily concerned about that at the moment. What we need to know is what happened. And this is to your point. We need some accountability. It may only end up being political accountability. It might only end up being that everything gets aired out. But look, the stuff that we're already seeing here reminds me of Watergate. And people forget that the Nixon aides that were involved in Watergate were manipulating the FBI, the CIA, and the IRS to, in terms of operating against their political opponents. This was going to be part of the impeachment articles that the House was voting on at the time that Nixon resigned and sort of short-circuited that process. So this type of thing, this politicization of intel, of law enforcement, is absolutely cancerous, and it has to be cut out entirely. And the only way you can get to that is to shine a light on it and make sure that everybody understands who participated in this and what exactly they were doing. And that includes Barack Obama. I don't think there's not a chance in Hades that they're going to prosecute Barack Obama. But I mean, I think John Brennan might have some legal accountability here. I think James Clapper might have some legal accountability here. James Comey might have some legal accountability here. And I think that process is going to force everybody to start talking about what actually happened in 2016, 2017. And according to, the Department of Justice, they're looking at all the way through 2024. So it's possible that they're going to bring in some of the Biden administration people on this too, in terms of the run up to the 2024 election.
Ed, again, I'm speaking to Ed Morrissey of hotair.com. Ed, one of the things that I was concerned about it was the statute of limitations when it comes to some of these crimes. And again, I am totally with you. I just don't see, listen, frankly, I think there would be riots in the street if President Obama was arrested. And listen, they've set the tone. They've set precedent. So I'm not against it. I want to be emphatically clear. I just don't think it's going to happen. But having said that, I do think maybe some of the underlings need to see some jail time, because I think there needs to be some guys that are in these institutions and these law enforcement agencies, whether it's the CIA or the FBI, some of the deep staters, as I would call them, that look at this and say, oh, my God, I'm never going to do that. A president asked me to do this. I'm going to say, no, sir, no, ma'am, whoever it may be, I'm not going there. So I do think it is so crucial, even if we don't get, and again, we're not going to get Obama. So let me just make that clear. But if we get some of the underlings, I'll be happy with that, Ed.
So you raise a really good point with the statute of limitations. Federal crimes generally have a statute of limitations for 5 years, with a couple of exceptions, one being homicides and the other being treason. This is not going to be treason. This treason is a very specific and very specifically defined term in the Constitution. So for most of these people, the crimes took place in 2016, 2017, to the extent that there were crimes. They're not going to be prosecuted for it. The statute of limitations has gone by, except John Brennan was testifying before a House committee in 2023, which was just 2 years ago. And he also was testifying or was being deposed by the John Durham special counsel investigators in August of 2020. That deadline is coming up. And I think that's one of the reasons why Tulsi Gabbard really happened to release this now, is I think, and refer it over to the Department of Justice, is because I am suspecting that they think that Brennan lied to investigators. And that is a federal crime. It's punishable by, I think, up to 5 years in prison, and it has that 5-year statute of limitation. Lying to Congress also has the same. It's basically the same the same consequences. It's a different statute, but it can still be prosecuted, and it has basically the same type of prison time or potential prison time, and that they have another 3 years to clear that. So if Clapper has testified or has been deposed and lied, if anybody else in that sequence, James Comey, if anybody else in that sequence has testified in some way, shape, or form within the last 5 years and lied about it, they could be prosecuted. But basically, that's the only, we call this process crimes. That's basically the biggest risk, I think, for some of the people that are in this alleged conspiracy, is that they got ahead of their skis, figured that they would never have accountability, told the story that everybody said, well, this is the cover story, you got to stick with it. And it may start falling apart here pretty soon, and they may have some potential liabilities.
Okay, so you just hit on a word that I want to touch on. And again, I'm speaking to Ed Morrissey of hotair.com. You said the word conspiracy. Now, is it possible that if they were able to get some of these guys, whether it's Brennan, whether it's a Clapper, whether it's a James Comey, on some type of conspiracy charges, then that supersedes the statute of limitations, does it not?
No, unfortunately, It doesn't.
Okay.
It does not. So the crime that even conspiracy has a statute of limitation. I think pretty much everything at the federal level, there's a couple of them that are longer than that. And I'm not an expert, right? So I would refer to a federal attorney, federal law attorney who would be more clear on this. But I suspect that nobody's going to actually be tried on whatever the underlying crime is.
Okay.
They could be tried if they lied to Congress or lied to investigators within the 5-year period. And that's to the extent that they're going to prosecute anybody or charge anybody. I suspect that that's what they're focusing on.
Okay. All right. Now, and again, I got to say, you guys, that I'm okay with this. I'm okay. I'm okay
Same.
with them opening up this can of worms, because I do think there needs to be accountability. If people are sweating and missing sleep and all that kind of good stuff, that makes me just as happy. But I just want people, to understand when they come into it's got to be people of integrity running these institutions. Frankly,
That's right.
I wanted the FBI closed down. It's not going to happen under President Trump. He's an old school type of guy. He loves those institutions. He remembers them back in the day when they had more honorable honor and integrity associated with them, and I think they do now with the people that are running them. But you still have the deep state. But I do want people running scared. I do want to remind people basically what happened. We have 2 minutes left in this block. Ed, can you stick with me for another block? You have the time?
I can. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. Perfect. All right. So basically, and this is coming from Just the News. So I was reading through this a couple of days ago. Intel Community's September 16th assessment didn't say Russia wanted Trump to win. That changed after he won. So basically, there was an intelligence community assessment in September of 2016 that said, basically, listen, Russia was, meddling, blah, blah, blah. But there was no there. They weren't for Trump. They weren't for Hillary. They wanted to basically cause disruption in the election system, just like they always do. And the effect was minimal, as it has been in the past. So the intelligence community wasn't concerned about it, including, and I'm talking about the entire spectrum of the intelligence community, beyond the FBI, beyond the CIA, beyond the NSA. We'll get to that after the break. But then in December of 2016, Obama and his minions, James Comey, Clapper, and Brennan, effectively said, hey, we can use this to undermine the next president. So 1 minute left in this block. Your response, Ed Morrissey.
No, I think you're going right down the correct path here, which is that we need to step through what the actual assessment was, and then see how people were framing it publicly. And this is where you're going to see the politicization take place. You're going to see, I would imagine, you're going to see, and we've already seen some indications of this, John Brennan clamping down, making sure that people aren't speaking out, telling analysts, this is what I believe, and you better come up with this, that sort of thing. These are all corrupt acts that I think are going to start getting exposed now.
Yeah. I'm so glad this stuff is coming out. I mean, again, I know some people are out there, he's going too far back. No, guys, people have to be able to trust their federal government. And this is, I don't think this is just about Trump. I think this is about us as well. You are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. My guest is Ed Morrissey of hotair.com. We'll be back in a few. Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank my listeners for all of your continued support. So Mike has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of their life. He didn't stop by creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets ever. Mike is offering the best deal on his Percale bed sheets. You can get a set for as low as $24.98 right now. The MyPillow Percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you will receive $100 in free digital gifts. Man, you can't beat that with a bat. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, I don't spell it like the communists, to receive the MyPillow Percale sheets for as low as $24.98. Order now or call 800-858-0263. Don't forget, use the promo code Carl. Okay, to dive right back into it again, I'm speaking with Ed Morrissey of hotair.com. Ed, where can people find you online real quick beyond hotair.com?
Well, I'm on Twitter. That's mostly where else I'm at, which is, at Ed Morrissey on Twitter or X, if you prefer X. And I kind of live on that during the day. So if you really want to find me, you can find me there. But otherwise, hotair.com is the place to be.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And I'm with you. I still like calling it Twitter better than X, Ed. It is, I just can't get past that. But sorry, ADD moment there, Ed. Okay. So getting back to this Intel community assessment, again, we summarized September 16th assessment. Basically, there was no there. Here's what Tulsi Gabbard had to say, however, and I quote, for months, had tipped just the news. For months preceding the 2016 election, the intelligence community shared a consensus view Russia lacked the intent and capability to hack U.S. elections. She goes on to say, but weeks after President Trump's historic 2016 victory defeating Hillary Clinton, everything changed. So again, you had the leaders of the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, released publicly in early January 2017. Just the News writes, they concluded with quote unquote high confidence that Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 and that Russia worked to quote unquote undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and harm her electability and potential presidency. And, quote, developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump. And nothing could be further from the truth, Ed. As a matter of fact, when you look at the entirety of the intelligence community, and now I forget all of the names. I had them in front of me, but I can't see. But anyway, all these other agencies that looked at this beyond the FBI, beyond the CIA, beyond the NSA, they looked at this stuff and said, hey, listen, there's no there. Basically, this is the same old. So I think this is absolutely devastating, in my opinion. I mean, James Comey, Clapper, I know we talked about him, but again, do you picture let's put it this way. Do you picture Pam Bondi going after these guys hard? I mean, she's got to, even if nothing comes of it, right?
Well, I think so. And I think especially John Brennan, right, who was the CIA director at the time. James Clapper, just to remind everybody, was the director of national intelligence, who was above John Brennan. And again, I think I think Brennan's going to be the easy target because it's pretty clear that he lied under oath twice in the last 5 years. Once to Durham's investigators, and the last time just a couple of years ago, giving testimony to a House committee. So I think he's the easy shot. Let me just point something out here, though, Carl. There is a tremendous amount of irony in this assessment that we are now reading, which was that all Russia wanted to do was undermine confidence in the American election system. And they were and I've said this all along, that basically they were the merry pranksters, right? They're putting together these stupid memes, that was promoting Hillary Clinton or just making ridiculous claims about Donald Trump. All they really wanted to do was cause trouble. They wanted to undermine confidence in the American electoral system. They really didn't have any effect on it in that sense, except this. They provided the excuse that allowed Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, James Clapper, John Brennan, and that whole unit to do exactly what Russia was trying to do in the first place, which was to undermine confidence in the election. And the Russians couldn't have been more pleased at how this turned out. What happened in 2016 and 2017 is exactly what they wanted to have happen. And instead of them being able to do it, the Obamaites were the ones that ended up doing it for them. I mean, it's just the irony here is just off the charts, and nobody's really talking about that.
That is such a great point. Everything that Russia wanted to do, the Obama administration and his underlings actually ended up doing. That is such a great point. Great point, Ed. But let me ask you this question. Why? Do you think Obama was trying to protect his legacy? I'm going back and I'm reading through Just the News and some of these intel. I mean, why would he want to do? I mean, it's totally insane to me. The guy had served 2 terms. He had people, even though, in my opinion, he was a disastrous president. He didn't do as well his second go round. As far as his election was concerned. But nonetheless, you had a fawning Democratic Party that still loved him, at least at the time. I don't think they love him as much nowadays. Why even bother? Was he so concerned with Trump destroying his legacy? Do you think he was caught up in other stuff, possibly? I don't understand why he'd do it.
So here's my theory, and it's just a theory, right? Or even maybe it's just a hypothesis. But, Barack Obama stuck around Washington, D.C., which is something that most presidents don't do. They leave, right? And I think what he wanted was he wanted to operate a shadow presidency underneath Hillary Clinton by being able to have the people that he had brought into the government remain in government and be responding to him. And I think he ended up succeeding in that. After 2020, when Joe Biden was president. I think Joe Biden was really Barack Obama's third term in office.
I agree.
And I think that is what Obama was trying to do here. He was trying to set it up so that he would be in Washington, D.C., and he would really be the power behind the throne. He would be the one that was, manipulating everything behind the scenes. And Trump's electoral victory basically robbed him of that. And so the next best thing would be to tie up Trump, to make it impossible for him to actually govern, and especially to go after Trump calls it the deep state. You can call it the bureaucratic state, whatever, so that Barack Obama could still have his policies basically being enacted by a president who was tied down by scandal. And I think that is exactly what the purpose of this was.
Yeah, and he almost pulled it off. I think you're right. He almost pulled it off. Do you think people like Carter Page, General Flynn, Papadopoulos, will these guys have any? Do they have any recourse, any retribution now that this new information is coming out? In your opinion?
Well, I think Carter Page has already been vindicated.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, not that he doesn't deserve to be more vindicated or to be remembered as being vindicated.
He get a payout or something?
That. Well, I mean, he can try suing, but I don't know who you sue, and I don't know how you claim the damages, right?
Okay.
But I mean, Flynn ended up getting pardoned over this for basically trying to cooperate with the FBI. A lot of people had their lives ruined over this. George Papadopoulos was another one who had his life ruined over this. And there were others. There were others that had their lives ruined over this that we don't even really know about, because they weren't big names. But they've had their lives ruined over it. a lot of people have had to, well, I mean, you can go back to Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, right? When it's separate from this, but it's the same type of lawfare situation that was going on, is that they were trying to ruin people's lives to get them out of the way. Now, I'm not necessarily the biggest, Steve Bannon fan. I've met him a couple times. He's a nice enough guy. He's just, I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that he says and does, but he didn't deserve to go to prison because he didn't want to share executive privilege communications with the president. Peter Navarro the same way. They're the only two people I know that were treated that way outside of Watergate. There was no reason for them to have gone to prison. It's like sending Martha Stewart to prison, which, by the way, was a James Comey prosecution for lying to investigators. It wasn't even for insider trading. It was just for lying to investigators who were investigating insider trading. They play for keeps. They play for keeps, Carl.
It's so insane. And this is why I think there needs to be accountability, because this nonsense needs to stop. This ability to be able to use process crimes to totally destroy people's lives, and process crimes that would not have been process crimes had they not invented some type of fake scandal, which makes me highly upset. We only got a minute and a half left with you here. Ed Morrissey of hotair.com. Ed, listen, let me just share this headline with you. Let me get your take on this. Text, email, show Clinton camp coordinated with Obama White House on Trump Russia smear. And I've got another headline I'd like you to comment on because I'm sure you know about them. Clinton email investigation omitted crucial piece of evidence, declassified report fine. So let's touch on the first one if we can. Just over a minute here, Ed.
Just really quickly, it's not a surprise to anybody. She'll also never be prosecuted. I don't think she's ever been asked to testify before Congress since the Benghazi scandal. So she's not on the record saying anything. She's smart. Some of the rest of these people aren't. And the whole thing that's just really quickly to wrap this up, the whole thing that started this was the email, her hidden email system. She wanted to get the stink off of that, and she wanted to transfer it to Trump as a distraction from that. It didn't work, actually, because he still got elected. But that's where this whole thing starts. So, yeah, Hillary Clinton's at the center of this. I have no doubt about it.
Man, again, this is a big bombshell. And again, I hope and pray that there will be some accountability at the end of this. Don't get your hopes up. I'm not convinced necessarily that anybody will be going to jail. I'm hopeful, but I'm not convinced of it whatsoever. And obviously, I got a smart guy like Ed Morrissey that confirms what I was thinking. So I appreciate that, Ed. You just made me look smarter. All right. So anyway, I appreciate you, man. God bless you. And I appreciate you coming on. We'll check you out.
God bless you, Carl.